All right, awesome. Hope everybody made it back safely from Oklahoma. Obviously, going back and watching the tape this morning was what I thought. Just really proud of our guys and the way they played. Really proud of the effort they played with. And it was fun watching it live yesterday, but it was really fun watching that tape again this morning, especially just the effort that our guys played with and flying around. I mean, it was remarkable, and we caused a lot of turnovers yesterday, but I mean, we could have had a lot more. Just the intent and the effort to knock the ball out, and the fumbles that we knocked out, or the balls that we knocked out that we didn't recover. It was just a really cool day, but at the same time, a lot to build upon. We can be so much better in all three phases. Watching the tape, offensively, we as coaches decided on our players of the game were Lenoris Sellers and Vandravius Jacobs. Dre, I thought backs that with his scrambling ability and made good decisions, and we didn't turn the ball over, and that starts with the quarterback. Defensively, hard to decide on just three, but felt like our players of the game defensively were Tonka Hemingway, Demetrius Knight, and Nick Emanwari. Tonka continues to play at a high level. D. Knight is playing at a really high level, flying around all over the field. And then Nick Emanwari in the game that he had speaks for itself. Special teams was also D. Knight. His ability on our punt team to cover kicks and get downfield and make tackles, it's important to him. He puts time in off the field, and it showed yesterday. And then our scout team guys, offensively, Nick Elksness, defensively, Joseph Burns, and special teams-wise, Lucas Vose. Injury-wise, came out of it in pretty good shape. Don't think anything will affect anyone long-term, and certainly not for Texas A&M, and optimistic that we'll have Jared Brown back next week for A&M as well. Questions?
Hey, Shane, it's Dave. I mean, you mentioned the defensive performance, and it speaks for itself. Just was anything, I guess, leading up to that during the week? Did you guys make an effort to practice punching the ball out more than you normally do? Just where did all that come from so quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think we've done a good job of it before yesterday, Dave. I mean, we were 12th in the country going into that game in takeaways defensively, and over the last three seasons, no one in the SEC has created more takeaways than our defense has over the last three seasons. So I'd like to think that we've been known for that for the last 3 years and this season as well. But certainly we knew going into this game that it was going to be even more important. And you can always say the turnover battle is going to be the difference. And I just felt like in this game, the team that won the turnover battle was going to win the football game, period, end of story. And to win it 4-0, we knew that we needed to get the ball out. So it was even more of an intent to get it out in practice this week, even though it always is. And, I wouldn't say so much it was an intent to get the ball out. It was just the effort that we played with. And we always play hard around here. That's never been in question. But the effort they played with on defense yesterday, just the second and third effort was really pretty cool to see. And they may have been tired of hearing me talking about how hard Oklahoma's defense plays. I don't know, but I made a point of that in the Tuesday team meeting about the effort that Oklahoma plays with, allows them to hit the quarterback and create takeaways. And I don't know, maybe they wanted to prove a point to me. I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
Hey, Shane, it's Hale. Kind of following up on what you were saying yesterday about the offense and needing to be more efficient. What can you guys do over the next week plus before the next game to try to get more efficient and to clean some of those issues up that you guys have been dealing with?
Continue to look at what we're doing. Continue to self-scout to see where we, tendencies that we have. But, we're 7 games in now, so we're not going to use the excuse anymore that we're young. We're 7 games in. And, yes, we're starting a true freshman left tackle and a redshirt freshman quarterback and basically a true freshman tight end and true freshman wide receiver, but they ain't freshmen anymore, so we're not using that excuse. We need to be more efficient. Certainly we did some really good things yesterday as well, but also some things that were not good either. And I think the most disappointing thing for me was just the second half. I believe we had 69 yards of offense in the second half, and that's ridiculous. We need to be better. We had our opportunities. We had a good drive going, like I talked about yesterday, the first drive of the third quarter, and then we had 2 penalties and a sack, and all of a sudden we go from being on the 20-yard line to punting. And that's what's the killer. So we've got to continue to minimize the self-inflicted things and, continue to find ways to be more productive. And again, I mean, we hit a connect on the deep ball down the sideline to Michael Smith that on the scramble play, we're maybe having a little bit of a different conversation, but they're good on defense, give them credit, but we need to be better than what we were for 4 quarters yesterday.
Hey, Shane, it's Jack. Hope you're doing well. With the bye week coming up and this being a unique year where it's the second one, do you try to change up anything in terms of how you guys prepare during the bye week, or do you just keep it kind of the same thing as what you guys were doing during the first time around?
Yeah, no, you look at it because we obviously played like hot garbage against coming off the last off week. Coaches, players, we did not perform well after an off week when we got ready to play Ole Miss. So you certainly look at what you're doing. Is there things that we need to be better and tweak? I think if anything, Jack, it's looking at where you are as a team health-wise. So certainly we're 7 games in, and we're getting ready to play. We're getting ready to do 5 straight games in the month of November. And for a lot of the freshmen on our team, if they didn't have a high school team that went deep in the playoffs, I mean, their season was over by the time they got to November for a lot of them. So it's a long season, so you need to be cognizant of that, making sure you take care of their bodies. 2, it's where do we need to improve? So that's, something that I've talked with, Clayton and Dow about starting last week as I was, kind of putting together the plan for this week, and something that the 3 of us talked about more today as well, and along the lines of, essentially the overall structure of the week as far as how we practice is going to be very similar, but it's, what do we need maybe more of? What do we need less of? Where are we struggling right now? Is it certain situational things that we need more work at, whatever it might be? So for us, it's making sure that physically we're being smart with what we're doing, because we know we're getting ready to jump into a grind here with 5 straight games. But 2, what do we need to really work on as a team to continue to get better? And that's where the focus starts and ends, and we build it that way. So overall, the structure will be similar, but we did, make some tweaks. Starting with today, I mean, the last off week, we were coming off a win over Akron, and we came in and we met and we lifted and had a normal Sunday. We just didn't practice. Well, today we didn't do anything. The players, they talked me into giving them the day off, so we gave the players off today, and then they'll come back in tomorrow and get to work on the off week, get started on the off week, I should say.
Hey, Shane, it's Jordan. I know with the rushing stats, they probably doesn't tell the story, but even when you adjust for sacks and the victory formation, it's still about 3.7 yards a carry. Is that, when you go back and watch the film, is that on the running backs of not hitting the holes that are open, or the offensive line for not creating those holes?
I think anytime you struggle like that, you look at everything. It's all 11 guys. Is it the quarterback making the right decision? Is it the running back running the ball where it's supposed to be? Is it the 5 offensive linemen doing what they're supposed to be doing? Is it the tight ends doing what they're supposed to be doing? And is it the wide receivers doing what they're supposed to be doing in the run game? And all 5 positions on the offense yesterday had a hand in the good runs that we had, and there were some good ones, and the bad runs that we had, and there were some bad ones. So we all have a hand in it, coaches as well, and we've got to be more efficient than what we were yesterday. And also realizing, Oklahoma throws a lot of defense at you. We knew that going into it. They did a lot yesterday to try and keep us off balance, and probably we didn't combat, some of their stuff as well as we needed to. So something that we need to have a better plan for going forward as well.
Hey Shane,
Hey,
it's
Shane.
hey,
Shane, it's
Shane.
John. I wonder if you agree with the statement that it seems like this year's defense plays much faster than maybe any of your other defenses here have. Would you agree with that? And do you think it's more just upgrading just speed on defense, or is it more just older guys playing fast with more confidence?
I'd say it's probably all the above. I agree with that statement. If you look at our secondary, we're essentially the same secondary that we had last year, except for Marcellus Dial, and now you've got Judge Collier who stepped in. So the one thing about our DBs is they're all long. They're long and they're athletic. When I say long, I mean like big. They have size. They have length. We don't have 5'8", 5'9" corners out there. I mean, Judge Collier and O'Donnell, they have length, and Nicky Manwari has length. Jalen Kilgore has length. Defensively, certainly up front, those tackles were all here last year. They're all a year older and certainly playing with a lot more confidence. Not that they weren't last year, but we're able to keep them fresher this year, John, so they should look faster because we have more of a rotation at defensive tackle. We at the edge position, we're obviously deeper and better with Dylan and Kyle, and then all the other guys being a year older. But I certainly think at the linebacker position is kind of where you look. And I told all you guys before the season that at the linebacker position, we're going to be deeper and we're going to be more athletic than we were last season, and that's the truth. We had two linebackers that left our program last year that are good football players, but we replaced them with D Knight, who is faster and more athletic than those guys and playing at a high level, and we replaced them with Fred Johnson, who that guy is has a chance to be a really special player. He's big, he can run, he was an all-state, I think, wide receiver or tight end in high school. So he's just an athletic guy that can run. So when you add athleticism and speed and size to your defense, you're going to look faster. We've always played hard. I think we've always played fast, but I think it's certainly more depth and more athleticism than we've had before, for sure.
Hey Shane, it's Ben Briner. Had sort of a question about third downs. It seemed like, at least to me, once you guys went up 21-0, there were a couple of there were maybe 3 or 4 third and longs where you maybe took something off of Lenoris's shoulders, didn't put him in drop back scenarios. And as the game went on, you kind of gave him a few more of those. First of all, is that correct? And then what was kind of the thinking there?
Yeah, I'd say there's something to that. We certainly wanted to be smart on third down. They had a game earlier this season where, they meaning Oklahoma, where they're playing an opponent, and the opponent essentially is trying to put the game away, and Oklahoma shows basically an 11-up, 0 blitz look, and they bluff it, and they drop out, and it turns into a pick six, and Oklahoma won the game. So we wanted to be very smart with what we did on third down, and please don't mistake that for being passive or conservative. If we were passive and conservative, we wouldn't have, I think we converted the first 2 third downs or one of the first third downs on that little in cut to Dre. So we were aggressive on third down, but we also wanted to be smart on third down just because our defense was playing well and Oklahoma was coming after us. You may be referring to the one at the end of the first half, right before the field goal, where that was, I believe, a third and long situation. And we were kind of talking like, where do we need to be to get in field goal range? And Dow said, I can't remember if it was before the first half. I think it was when it was 21-0, and we maybe kicked the field goal to make it 24. I can't remember. But there was one right over there going in to the right of our bench where it was on third down, and we were kind of in between field goal range, go for it. And it was one of those, hey, let's try and pop a run in here, see if we can run for the first down, and maybe we get it, or we get ourselves in a fourth and manageable, or at the minimum we're in field goal range. And there was some of that, but it wasn't. I don't think it was taking anything off Lenoris's shoulders as much as it was just trying to be smart with how the game was going and what Oklahoma was doing defensively as well.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Yep.
Hey Shane, it's Jordan. How tough is it, when you don't have depth, it's tough to transition, but at the edge position, what's it like when you just have 8 guys or maybe even more that it seems like you can throw in and they're going to be productive? How tough is it to rotate or know when to rotate when you have so much depth like that?
No, it's huge. You got Kyle and Dylan obviously that are our 2 starters, but you've got Gilbert Edmond who's been a starter, and you got JT Gear who has been a starter, and you got Brian Thomas who's a really good player and was very productive yesterday, and then Desmond as well. So you want to continue to bring all those guys along, and they need to continue to get better, which they are, but it certainly helps as those other guys improve to be able to, throw other guys in the game, to be able to just get more good players on the field. And that was certainly, as y'all have heard me say, a point of emphasis after last season was to develop more depth on the defensive side of the ball, because we had a lot of guys that played too many snaps last year, and we got worn down at times. So certainly we talk about it every game, Jordan, that when we have those pregame staff meetings, it's how are we going to play the players? And, Sterling Lucas, when he gets up there and we talk about it as a staff, it's always plan on getting all those guys in the game and just kind of picking your spots and making sure, that Dylan and Kyle or whoever else are at their best when we need them to be at their best, for sure.
Shane, it's John. I think you mentioned a couple of times that there's some guys who have played who y'all may end up, redshirting this year if the situation or opportunity presents itself. I hope I'm not mischaracterizing anything there. I was wondering how what comes with the challenges of keeping those guys engaged, and with it being so easy to leave with the transfer portal. Is that something that you have in the back of your mind, or how do you go about managing that to be sure everybody's happy?
No, great question. As far as the portal, I think in those situations, it's you go back to each young man and kind of understanding where they're coming from with guys, or where they're coming from in regards to their intent, not their intent, but the conversations we have about potentially redshirting. There was one a few weeks ago where I don't believe his intent was to just redshirt and come back here in 2025 and be ready to rock and roll. And we've I've discussed that with you guys. There's other guys that, because of the, trust that I have in them since they've been here at Carolina, I understand where they're coming from, and I always want to do what's best for each person in our program as well. And then in regards to making it work, I tell those guys, and it's the truth. Like, if you just say, okay, well, we're gonna try and save your red shirt this year, but you don't continue to work and improve and get better each week and work to get yourself ready to potentially play in that game on Saturday, then it's not going to be good for either one of us, because you're going to come back in January a worse player than where you are right now. Like, you need to continue to get better for this to be a positive, meaning potentially redshirting. But then also we tell those guys that, and they know that every week is different. And if we need you to win a football game, then that's what we're going to do. My obligation is to the 2024 football team to win as many football games as we can. And nobody has been told you're definitely redshirting in 24 and let's get ready for 25. It's, we'll take each week as it comes. And if we can avoid playing you in a game where we don't need you, we will. But if we need you to win a game, then you're going in, and everybody understands that, and they're great with that.
Hey Shane, it's Jack again. You were able to get Davis into the game yesterday. What kind of went into that? Obviously, he was a captain too with his return to OU. How important was it to you to get him in there?
Very, really happy for him. Obviously we talked about his situation after the Akron game where he got in and threw a touchdown, and he's been around college football for a while now. He's had quite the journey. He's a great teammate. We made him a captain on yesterday, like you said. And when we as a coaching staff were discussing that, I liked the idea, but I wanted to make sure some of our players were okay with it. So I reached out to 4 of our players that have been here on this team since 2020 and asked them what they thought about making Davis a captain. And it was unanimous, like 100%. Heck yeah, that would be awesome. He deserved it, those kind of comments. So happy for him. I know he appreciated it. Yesterday, a lot was made of me going back to Norman, but he was going back to Norman, and I think he played in 6 games. And I know he started games there during his time at Oklahoma. So to be able to go back, I know was special for him. And we really wanted to get him in the game. It's something that Dow and Coach Shula and myself were talking about really from about the 10-minute mark of the fourth quarter on. It's making sure we get Davis in the game. And what we didn't want, we put Robbie in. We didn't want the clock to run out and not be able to get Davis in. So we put him in there on that 3rd down. I wish we had protected a little better, and he could have thrown for a conversion. And I didn't envision the story going where he went in there and got sacked, but that's how it happened. But we were able to get him in there, and he was getting ready to throw for the 1st down conversion, I think, or for the conversion on 3rd down before we got sacked. But happy for him, and I know he was excited to be back there yesterday.
Hey, Shane, I wanted to follow up on one more injury. I think you said a week or so ago that y'all felt like Jules would be back after the bye week. Is that still what it's looking like with him? What's the latest on his status?
Yeah, I would say that he's not. I'm not as optimistic about Jules as I am Jared Brown, but that's not to say that we would rule Jules out. He's a little bit behind Jared, but still optimistic that he'll be able to play next week.
Hey, Shane, you guys were obviously missing O'Donnell for most of the game. After you kind of put on the film, how did you kind of grade out the guys who stepped in for him?
Good. Judge and Bakari have been playing a lot anyway, and Judge had a really solid game. I thought Bakari did some good things, plenty to clean up like every position, but he came in, and then David Spalding's a guy that he's just a veteran that means so much to our defense because he's a guy that's been around here for a long time. David's so smart. He can go in and play safety. He can go in and play corner. He can go in and play nickel. And he's primarily been playing nickel for us behind Jalen. But yesterday we had to put him in there at corner and thought he did some good things. He had the one penalty, but he was in position to make the play on the ball. His technique needed to be a little bit better at the line of scrimmage with our press technique there. And then just got back in phase and just needed to get his eyes around. But he'll continue to get better. But really appreciate him and all those guys for the way they jumped in there yesterday and played.
Out of curiosity, would y'all have snapped that ball on 4th down had the guy not jumped offside, or were y'all going for that regardless?
The first one where they did jump offside, you mean? We did it twice. You're talking about the first one?
Correct. On that.
Yeah.
Right near the end of the first half.
Yeah. No. We would not have unless we just had to take a delay or call timeout, and I changed my mind. But when we went to the line of scrimmage, I wasn't planning on going for it on 4th down, but I thought we could get on the jump, and we were able to.